Hey everyone, we are back for another exciting episode this week with so many amazing things to talk about. We'll also find out what made Cynthia say,
every member breaks down at least once at the camp. So if you take care of this on top of it, your season is going to be golden.
And why Chris said,
that's what the performing arts did for me as a kid. It allowed me to understand who I was and get comfortable in my own skin. So if I can do that for people of all ages, all backgrounds, and they walk in the door and feel like I belong here, then I've accomplished my goals. I've done what I set out to do.
All this and more on this week's episode of On a Water Break.
Let's go. Set it up.
Top of the show.
Form, check form. Cover down.
Do it again.
Run it back. And we'll see you at the show.
Welcome to another episode of On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. I'm Jackie Brown. Well, it is the start of June, and you know what that means. It's time for camps, move-ins, and the start of LGBTQIA Pride Month. We have a few special guests this week, and we will get to them in just a moment, but let's see who's on the sidelines this week. Let's start with Cynthia.
Hi guys.
How's it going up there?
It's getting warmer, so much warmer. This week we're having nice Celsiuses because that's what we use. But yeah, it's getting warm, so the pool is getting used, and I just can't wait for any drum corps clips we start seeing. We're going to talk about it, but we start now seeing little clips here and there of move-ins and choreography and pictures. It's interesting. So yeah, cool.
Oh, that's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
We also have Chris Green. Hi, Chris.
Well, hi, Jackie. I'm excited to be on my first On a Water Break podcast.
I am excited to have you here because I know I've been telling Jeremy, when are we going to get Chris Green on? Where does Chris Green fit in? We got to get him in here. Chris being our first guest host, he has his hands in a lot of marching art spots. But I'll let you tell our listeners about it yourself. So you are joining us to help kick off Pride Month. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, just briefly, I've been involved in the performing arts since I was, about 12, like most of us have. And I marched for years. I started drum corps. I arranged, conducted, wrote for, basically a little bit of everything. So I'm excited with this podcast because so many of those pageantry arts and marching arts kind of cross in each other. We know a lot of the same people. So exciting for Pride Month is I'm actually the director of a Pride Bands Alliance group. It's a community band in Orlando, Florida called Central Florida Sounds for Freedom Band and Color Guard. And actually going to play off that a little bit with some of our guests coming up this month that work in both the concert band, marching band, all the performing arts. There's so many great designers and instructors out there that identify in what I affectionately call alphabet soup, where everyone is equal, all the letters are equal, we're just unique and different, so it helps us stand out. So I'm borrowing from that pot a little bit, and we'll just see. We're going to have some exciting conversations.
That is going to be so great. I feel like the conversation opening up and the education that's been available about this alphabet soup that you referred to has been fantastic. And like, just even seeing some of the stuff, I got to meet the Big Apple queer band
they
at the Thanksgiving parade.
Yeah. That's one of our largest marching bands in the country when it comes to Pride Bands Alliance, and they actually just went through a rebranding to be more inclusive for their membership. And I think a lot of the groups are doing that, which is a topic you probably hear a couple times popping up as we learn more about the community and how to make sure everyone feels included, especially with the current political climate we have going on right now. I think the more that we can highlight just how accepting the performing arts are. I mean, we still have a ways to go, but it is a place that a lot of people have felt able to be their true self for the first time, and we want to embrace that.
So have you seen, talking about this growth that you've seen, what are some of the things that you've seen with like changes going on in queer bands over the years?
Well, with queer bands, I mean, basically we started off with San Francisco, 30, 40 years ago, and just slowly grew. It's very similar to how the gay choruses gala has grown. We're just kind of adapted to the scenario. So it used to be in the 80s that we were looking for just a way to have a performing outlet, a way to get together as a group. And obviously, with the AIDS crisis going in the 80s, there's a lot
Mhm.
of different bonding that happened. A lot of people aren't familiar, but the lesbian community actually stepped up and became caregivers to the gay male and bisexual men communities because AIDS was decimating so much and it was much more prevalent in male than female. So that's why the lesbians come first in all the alphabet soup of LGBT, LGBTQ plus, and it used to be the Lesbian and Gay Band Association, and now it's Pride Bands Alliance. We've grown past that, but that's where we started. So the organization itself has grown just because it became a support group, and now you'll see, especially in my band, I think we have every letter that's in alphabet soup is in our band.
Mm.
Non-binary, intersex, asexual, gay, bi, trans, and we have a lot of allies, and that's what's exciting. I
Of
think that
course.
more and more people are willing to step forward and say, "Hey, I'm not a member of this community, but I want to, perform music, and I want to be in a group that is accepting of all people." Uh,
Mhm.
and so that itself seems to resonate with more people, and we're seeing a lot of growth in bands across the country, not just in the gay and lesbian, you know, realm, but basically everyone can feel comfortable. And I think that's been the biggest growth we've seen just overall. And every band's different. Some have marching, some have jazz, some have color guard. Obviously, my band Orlando has one of the larger color guards. We have 25, and they perform both on stage with us in parades with the band, and also perform as a separate unit, so that way they can keep their color guard going year round.
Mm.
That's so awesome. I love that it's just so inclusive of people, and like you were saying, like it's not just about the 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 queer communities, the LGBTQIA communities and everything. It's really about being inclusive of everybody and understanding that everybody is different, and that's really awesome. But aside from that, what is the best part about running these programs? Like we're talking boots on the ground. What is your favorite thing to do when you are running these programs? What's the best part about it?
Well, I'll tell you for me, because we are a mostly adult band, most people come to us with a 10, 15, 20, 25-year break from their instrument or flag. And
Oh
seeing those
wow.
people come in and reconnect with something that they loved before, or have come in and learned something for the first time. You have a lot of people in their 30s and 40s that never did band. Like, I would love to learn something. Well, great. Or they're a violinist. Like, well, can I play percussion? Sure. And it's been really exciting for people that maybe weren't allowed to do color guard or never had the opportunity to do so. As an adult, now we've got a leveled program so that our advanced people that are coming out of WGI or still have the bodies to be able to produce some of that stuff, because we know as we get older those things become
Yep.
more of a challenge.
Things
Uh,
change. It's
they
biology.
do. Bones ache. We understand all those problems, but it gives them a chance to perform in a higher level of dance and equipment. And then people who are joining for the first time, then we have ways to learn those basic skills and be able to perform for the first time in a less pressure environment. So I like that people are able to come in and either reconnect or find something for the first time. And honestly, that's what the performing arts did for me as a kid. It
Mm.
allowed me to understand who I was and get comfortable in my own skin. So if I can do that for people of all ages, all backgrounds, and they walk in the door and feel like I belong here, then I've I've accomplished my goals. I've done what I set out to do.
What would you say is the biggest challenge of running a group like this?
Um, Personalities is always a big challenge, as we all have to deal with personnel management, and everyone's coming at a different point of view. With adults who are coming from work and job and family and all those things, you may have sat in traffic for 2 hours to go to rehearsal. Who knows?
Mm.
So that's always a challenge. Um, but I think right now the biggest challenge is politically what's going on with transgender laws. We have
Mm,
transgender people in the band that are scared to perform.
Mm.
We have people that have transgender youth, and they feel they're under attack with the point that they are facing possible criminal charges depending on how things go politically. And that's scary because we can't just say, well, you don't like it, leave. You can't leave your home.
no.
You know, you can't just up and have a new job, new house, new family, whatever. And honestly, where do you run to? The Northwest? Maybe parts of New York? I mean, there's there's a lot of places in the country that are very accepting and aren't doing that, but 35, 40 or so states are having some sort of law on the books potentially this year. And we're going into an election year, so we know the rhetoric's going to get even worse. And that's very scary, especially for members in the band. And I think making sure they feel safe at all times at rehearsals, at performances, making sure that if we're doing a pride parade, they have a good emergency plan. We'll have a way to make sure our members stay safe. And that's something we all need to do, regardless of the situation. But I think there's extra pressure with our members because they're looking to us to help keep them safe and be able to perform.
Well, that can be so hard too, especially you were talking about them having to like go to a different part of the country to feel safe, and like, they might have to leave their family structure behind, and their whole support system in order to do that, and that can just be such a challenge to do for so many people.
Completely. And that's why I've always hated that phrase. And we've heard it our whole lives in so many different ways. If you don't like it, get out of here. But you start
Hmm.
looking at people who are an established career, established family, whatever it is, you can't just up and leave. And even if you could, why should you have to?
Mm.
We're all Americans.
Yeah.
We have some different viewpoints of things, but basically, we all just want to be able to live our lives to our own little bubble with our friends and social circles, support circles, as you mentioned, healthcare, all the things you want to have just to have a regular life. And, what was the phrase?
Well,
Always just like,
hopefully.
leave alone, let be kind of thing. Go ahead.
Hopefully this month we are going to be able to educate people through this whole pride and what it means and what it's like for the people who are members of alphabet soup or allies. And that's really what I'm hoping we can do with this podcast this week is this month. I say this week, we're going to be talking about
Mm.
pride all month long. And just having that educational information out there, and maybe people can share this with their friends and loved ones who might be going through something, or who might have someone who they love in their family who needs to hear this information. So thank you, Chris, for all
No
of that.
problem.
Let's get into our gush and goes for today. I hear, Cynthia, you have a pretty big
Mm.
one, so why don't you go first?
I do. It's The Secret. The Secret is coming out finally. Yes.
Finally.
So I'm an ultra prepared person, so that's why if I want it to be, perfect is what it is today, so it is what it is today. We're going to start a new series. We're going to call it a series right now. That will be called Lost in Translation. Because if
Ooh,
you don't know, I'm a French Canadian and I got lost in translation often, and I still am very often when I'm surrounding anything actually, but the marching arts and color guard and drumline and hornline. And
mhm.
so I will meet every, hopefully, week a person, a passionate person, an instructor, and someone that loves the marching art, a parent, whoever. And that's one of my big philosophy. Everyone has something to say, and
For
not
sure.
everyone has a how do you call it?
A
There's not, they
platform?
don't necessarily, yeah, platform. There you go. You don't necessarily have a platform. So that's what I hope to do, is just to sit down with someone that wants to talk about the marching arts. But more importantly, we're going to choose a word, and I'm going to probably do like 4 episodes on one word, and we're going to go in depth into that word with the person, depending on their experiences, where they're coming from, their culture, their, all of this. And so next week, so we're right now let's say the 1st of June, we're the 31st of May, but next week we should have the two first episodes come out at the same time. So the first episode is going to be me introducing the podcast and a little bit about me, and it shouldn't be that long because and then the second one
I don't know. I
is
remember
very
the
close to,
podcast where we talked about your history a little bit, and I was amazed at the stories. So,
yeah. Yeah, but in the first episode I'll be alone. So I shouldn't,
okay.
like talking alone. I don't think I'm going to be that talkative, like, you know what I mean? It's not going to be a conversation, but then afterwards, of course, I will talk and I will question and I will listen. And the second episode that will come out probably at the same time will be with Letitia Miron, which is a very close to my heart person. I've taught to her since, I don't want to say she was 12.
Wow.
And she fell in love with color guard and drum corps, and she moved from a drum corps to another until she found her home, her place at the Boston Crusaders. And she was last year one of the captains of the color guard of Boston Crusaders. And we're going to explore with her the word introducing, as some people are right now in their move-ins and their camps, and some people don't know no one. And it's not easy when you jump in a drum corps, and I'm going to talk as an international person, but I'm pretty sure it happens with anyone. But you jump into a color guard, you went to auditions, yes, you cross path with 1, 2, 3 person, but you're not from. And we know how drum corps, they're fed often like one color guard, there's a lot of people going to that one drum corps, and so there's already a group of people. And most drum corps do really good efforts to include everyone, but still it's hard. And spring camp is hard. It's hard on everybody. Everyone's going to cry at least twice. Everyone's going to have a mental crisis. So we're going to explore with her all of that, how to introduce yourself, how to get through spring training without leaving, because that's the hardest part probably of
It
the
happens
season.
sometimes though. Yeah.
It does. And it's hard. It's really hard to, and let's not forget, like I see some of the kids that I taught that are like, they're now on their day 7, 6, whatever of camp, but they just left school like 2 days prior. They were handing in their last day, their last work, their last exam, and then packing up and then going to drum corps. So yeah, so that's going to be the first episodes, and then who knows where that's going to go. So if you want to talk to me, anyone, or if you know someone that you think would be interesting and that had an impact on you, there's so many people. I mean, yes, there's big names that we all know, and I'm hopefully going to talk to them, but the people that we don't know, the parent that is always there and has something or knowledge about the experience, and then yeah, anyone. So I think there's an email. You can send us an email, or join me on Facebook, Cynthia Bernard, and talk to me. And hopefully I'll talk to you soon. Anyone.
And if you message any of the On a Water Break social media accounts on Facebook or Instagram, we can definitely make sure that Cynthia gets those messages as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I know teaching in Brazil, teaching color guard down there was such an eye-opening experience for me, just to understand like the differences in culture and what they really mean to the way that the marching arts operates around the world versus when people come to America, and like how different it is here from there. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Any of
And
my
that's when
Brazilian listeners want to come and be on it,
Yeah.
definitely message us.
Yeah, because that's one of the things, and that's how Jeremy and I got the idea, is that like we'd like to do a series about international and how it's different. And when you are an international person, you don't see that many differences, except maybe the terminology or the lexicon of
Right.
But then the rest of it, you don't see it because you're in it. But then when you talk to other people, international people, and you realize how much, like the Pride of the Netherlands that have to duct tape their tarp every year at WGI, or is it Mayflower, because they cannot fly a full tarp. Like it can be really just that. And I'm saying just that, and it's just not just that.
but like it's a small thing that's you would never think of unless you were in that situation.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll talk to a lot of people and get to know their side, their story, their culture. And so no one ever gets lost in translation. So we deepen their knowledge into the words that we use in our world, in our community.
I love it. I'm so excited for this, Cynthia. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
I want to gush a little bit about our choreography services, because right now we have all of these requests coming in for choreography. And, you know, I started doing video choreography with Spintronics like over a decade ago. And, you know, we still get all these requests for choreography, and I have multiple choreographers working under me now. And we do video choreography, we do camps and stuff. And then also the guard closet design closet also does them. And so we kind of work together on these requests. There's just so many of them. And, you know, people who are thinking about hiring out their choreography services and having someone create video choreography for them, or having someone come into their school to do choreography and teach it. I think it's a lot more affordable than people realize. And there are definitely some things that used to be barriers to the ability to do this, especially with the technology of like video choreography, that are just not barriers anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I that's just what I want to gush about, because I've been literally all day answering messages and emails on to people about our choreography services, and they're just it's kind of amazing to me that it's come so far.
Mm. And right now, do you have like people for marching band already, or are they
Oh yeah, no,
asking for? Oh, really?
I actually we have most of our marching band clients already hashed out, and then they're currently, they've already agreed to their agreements and everything, and they're going through and sending in music and drill to us so we can start working on
Wow.
choreography. I'm literally next Monday going to
Mm-hmm.
start recording my first fall show marching band choreography. I just sent music to one of my other choreographers. I just sent her a full show worth of music and drill today, that came in, and then like uh I'm just like thinking in my head, I'm like, how much more do we
Mm.
have? Because then I have like a camp for a week, and then I have another client I have to do choreography for the next week, and then I have a camp the following week. And it's like, so it's just crazy. And like I said, I have other choreographers now I've had to bring on. I used to do it all myself, and I would
Mm.
be choreographing for like, it had 20 bands in the summer. And then like this time of year, we actually start getting requests for winter guard as well, for like
Wow.
next year's winter guard already.
Wow.
So people who are
Already.
like really excited and want to start getting things going, especially if they want custom stuff, like now is the time to ask for that, because like, yes, we're in the throes of creating stuff for marching band, but if you wait until after marching band to ask us for winter guard stuff, we're probably going to be booked already.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. It's so for me, it's so long because we start planning like winter guards so late, like mid-August to late
Oh my
August.
gosh.
That's yeah. But we
Well,
make it
and
happen.
we start doing like clinics and stuff
Yeah.
in August, and start doing, and it depends on the team and like what level they are and so on. There was a point like sort of at the height of Spintronics, where when we were having the World Guard and everything, and back in like 2020, like before COVID happened and all that, we were starting like our auditions and stuff at the end of August, and then
Mm.
doing all of our training and stuff in September and October, and we started learning our show in November. And so it was like, that was really early. But prior to that, and kind of the model we're looking for now to try and going back into that building phase, we don't really start anything until October. So it's really late too for us. Chris, what would you like to gush and go on about?
Well, this is my first time on the podcast. So hopefully you will indulge me with a
Ooh.
double gush.
Ooh.
The extended water break where you actually get to sit down for a moment.
Yes.
So first, we're talking about Pride Month, and we just ran a big convention in Orlando called Diversify Our Bands. It was with the Association of Concert Bands, which is mostly community bands based all over the world, really, mostly in North America, but we're trying to expand that. So with 1,000 musicians, 9 visiting bands, we even did a mass Pride band because all 3 Pride bands in Florida got in on a blind audition to perform together. So we were able to perform all this wonderful music by LGBTQ plus composers and people of color, international, age, gender, background, basically any kind of diversity you can possibly imagine. And we spent an entire week kind of focusing on that with wonderful panels and concerts, and that was amazing. And then also, because if you're not aware, I am the Fruhoff rep for Florida. Uh, I'm very excited about Team Fruhoff's summer chances because Colts and Troopers returned to the top 12 last year.
Mm.
Troopers are the
Ooh.
first time they've ever been a full core of the new size at 150. Their guard is going to be the largest it's been in 4 decades. So I'm very excited for both Colts and Troopers to build off last year. Mandarins, who were so
Mm.
incredible last year, where they're going to go. And then, Blue Knights may have slipped out of the top 12 last year, but I think they're coming back with a vengeance. And of course, Academy and Colt Cadets are also members of the family. So I'm excited because the looks are amazing, the shows are incredible, and it's just that time where we get to get excited again about marching arts. I mean, there's the big gap between WGI and the summer, and then the summer into band camp. So while it feels like it's always happening, and those of us who are working behind the scenes know we are always planning the next anything.
Literally, it doesn't stop.
It was like, when are you going to take a break? What's a break? I don't know. What's a weekend?
Right.
But it's exciting this time of year because we're going to start seeing thousands of youth all across the country and all age too, just putting together incredible performances, going to entertain us all summer, and that's always exciting.
Mm.
That's so awesome. I'm excited to see those productions out on the field this summer. That's going to be a good time. Well, we are going to be going live on location to the breakdown camp down in Texas with the phenomenal Susie Harloff, who has been on our podcast before. If you have not heard her previous episodes, make sure you go back and listen to those. She is fantastic. So, everybody, get back on the field, and we'll patch in Susie for our next water break.
Hey, this is Christine Ream.
And Chris Green.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs.
Our consignment inventory has plenty of great looks for your color guard, drumline, and marching band.
Pay it forward. When you purchase consignment, you help other programs. Last year, we sold over 400 sets of consignments and returned over $125,000 in payments to our consigners for their sales.
Additionally, Guard Closet offers custom and pre-designed costumes, flags, floors, and formal wear, full or partial show writing, educational programming, and other services.
Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
The Guard Closet team is here to help you get everything you want and need for your season. Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
Hi, Beth.
Hi, Susie. Haven't talked to you like this in a long time.
I know it.
Like
I
a long time.
did not realize that you guys were had known each other like IRL.
Yeah. spent
IRL.
2 or 3 years together at Westchester. So yeah.
That's
A couple,
awesome.
we know a couple people in common. So what's up, Susie? What are you doing?
Oh my goodness. I am in Prosper, Texas, attending Michael Rosales' breakdown camp.
That's great.
So what I've been curious about this. What capacity are you there in? You said that you're a guest. Are you there as a director learning stuff? What can our listeners expect if they're doing that? Are you teaching some things?
I'm really here just observing what the camp is. I have been begging Michael Rosales to bring these camps to the Midwest.
Yeah.
And in order for him to do that, he's going to need some help with someone who knows the Midwest, and I'm hoping that will be me. So please don't read into that. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere. I am hoping that happens. So I'm just here kind of checking out what it is and seeing if there's any way I can help him move it forward.
Cool. So what is the breakdown camp? What's doing back it way up to very, very basics.
Yeah.
What's it all about? Why did he start?
Well, as you all know, in the pageantry arts, horn line players are not just marching anymore. They are needing to learn how to dance and move their bodies differently than just marching. So Michael has created these breakdown camps where schools in the area send their leadership students to come and learn dance basics, warm-up routines, improvs across the floors, and they learn actual choreography. And it's just a great way to get kids to either start learning or build on what they already know, and then they can bring that energy to their schools, and it's pretty amazing. And
so he just works with the leadership kids. He doesn't necessarily work with your whole band.
He does right now. Yeah, right now his camp is set up to have those kids who are either section leaders or upperclassmen, so that they can take it back to their schools. Yeah.
Cool. Then they become ambassadors.
Absolutely. And I will say, I've been teaching band body for a long time, and I have learned so much in the time I've been here.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's really well done. And kids, and there are directors too, like the directors that send their kids, they can come and they have classes for them too, to help them learn how they can incorporate movement into their own programs. Yeah.
That's a great resource for directors. I think more directors would do well to do that. wherever they are and whatever camps are available to them to take advantage of those opportunities. Because I think
Absolutely, because how many band directors, when they went to college, had dance classes? Like, you know,
Oh
and it's
yeah, like
something,
none.
that's a goose
yeah.
egg, I'm sure.
And it's like an expectation in the activity now that your kids move and not just march, and to help you find tools to do that with your program. It's a big deal. Yeah.
Well, especially for, I mean, when we were in band back in the day, the dark ages, when they just marched, you know, I've seen that this evolution happen in the activity. And
Mhm.
today I'm like, God, I don't even know if I would have done it because I didn't have that training. But it's good to know that there is training for non dance people. Like, how
Yes.
does
Yeah.
how and what is that like for you, Susie? Like when you get somebody who joins band and is, you know, a baritone player, and they did band because they didn't want to do anything dance related.
Yeah.
How do you overcome that?
You know, for me, I'm lucky now because we have built it at Avon. So it's like part of the culture now. So when the
Sure.
baritones come in, they see their senior section leaders standing up there doing grand plies, and that's just what it is. But there was a time when we had to start, you know, and so
Yeah.
Michael does a great job of introducing it to the kids as like, this is not ballet. You're not putting on tutus and like doing ballet. We're moving our bodies, and we will learn some technique and some French words along the way. But, you know, if you kind of approach it as like natural movements that you already do, and then starting to apply technique to it.
Well, when you talk about natural movements that you already do, like there's such a lack of that in the years leading up to high school, I feel like, than there used to be. So like they're not getting that same like movement training that they would have been getting in like their PE classes and stuff like that. You know, there's so much more
Mhm.
focus on sports there now that
Yeah.
it's like they're not going through the full range of motions of things. So they don't necessarily know how to use their arm in a full range of motion and things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's just a lot of the training that goes into it. I mean, we do a whole bunch of core distal work, you know, where it's like get as small and tight as you can and then reach out as far as you can. Because that's one of the big things with dancing when you're not comfortable with it. Like you said, is like lengthening and filling up space. And so we try to train them to do that before we even start teaching dance technique. So then it's easier to apply.
Well, I have to think too, as a wind player, that when you work on things like your core and filling that space, that you're
Mhm.
elongating your torso, expanding your diaphragm in the process, which is only going to give you better air support as you're
Sure.
performing. Am
Mhm.
I on the right track?
You absolutely are. And something else at these breakdown camps, because Michael is focusing on wind player movements, he will make commentary about that. Like when you're in this pose, you're going to really have to pull your shoulder back and open up your chest so you have air that you will need to play. And, you know, so he applies all of that into his teaching as well, which is something, you know, like in the color guard world. I mean, yes, we have to expand and all that stuff, but a lot of times with band body, color guard instructors will come over and teach the band body.
Right.
But they sometimes don't have that connection to the actual instrument that, yeah, you can do things, but a lot of times they still have to play and they still have to, you know, be able to expand their lungs and things. So,
Sure.
And we're just
Yeah.
not thinking along those same lines in the color guard world. You know, we might
Right.
be doing those, but it's just a different color, I guess that you're looking
Yeah.
through.
I see what you did there, Jackie. It's a different color.
So you're at the breakdown camp, but you also teach at the Music for All Summer Symposium, which is coming
Yes,
up.
I do. It's coming up. It's the last week of June, June 26th through July 1st.
And where does that
Yeah.
take place, Susie?
I'm sorry.
Where does that take place? Where are you?
So the Music for All Summer Symposium takes place on the campus of Ball State University, which is in Muncie, Indiana. But don't let that fool you. It doesn't mean only people in the Midwest can attend. They call it America's Camp because kids from all over the country come. It's basically an Uber band geek camp. We have marching band and drum majors and percussion and color guard. Hopefully next year we'll get back to our concert and jazz band tracks. So we've been slowly bringing those back post-COVID.
Nice.
But I'm in charge of the color guard track. So we have a director's track and a student track. And so the student track is just like your regular old guard camp. You know, they break into teams and they learn a lot. They focus on leadership. They do a lot of dancing. And then at nights, they get to attend nightly concerts. all while bonding with color guard friends from across the country. But one of my favorite thing is the instructor academy, because there's not a lot of that out there.
It's true.
So color guard instructors from the most beginning, I just married a band director and I have to teach the color guard and I don't know what I'm doing, all the way up to people who've like marched independent world guards. They all come to our instructor academy to learn new things, to learn from each other. There's lecture-based classes. There's get your hands on your equipment and spin classes. And then you can interact with directors from all around the country. And it is just the best week of the year.
That's fantastic. That's really in depth. And I'm glad that they were addressing the directors too. I really still feel like that's like you said, it's a missing piece in a lot of camps. I mean, it's easy to, obviously the students for sure, we want them to get, that bolstered sense of, empowerment and learning more skills and getting in touch with more people. And I think the idea of seeing kids from other schools helps them to realize that they're not working or doing it in a vacuum, that this activity is so much bigger than your town or your school. And when they get to see that, I think it changes their perspective, and they realize this is a big deal. Like what I'm doing is good and positive and is going to, be impactful in my life and then the life of the people I'm working with.
For sure. And usually kids that will spend a week of their summer working and doing color guard are those kids that are hyper motivated and positive, and they just feed off of each other's energies and they go back to their programs like ready to tackle the season.
I know whenever I was a young instructor, kind of like making that transition from being a performer to an instructor, that's when I came to the director track of the summer symposium. And like, seriously, Susie, you changed my perspective so much as a young instructor, because I came out from DCI and being like, yeah, I'm ready to take on the world. And it's like, it's really like such a different mindset, because you're going from being a performer who's just like gung-ho at it all the time to like, no, I don't personally have to be gung-ho at the performance aspect of it now. I need to break things down and look at how I'm teaching them and how do I reach my students. And looking at the design, like I already kind of looked at the design aspect of it, but really looking at that teaching aspect and how do I teach this to kids who are coming from all different backgrounds and all different interests. And like, I think that was so helpful for me as a young instructor to have that sort of place to transition my mindset about color guard.
That's awesome. Yay.
Yeah.
So it's working, Susie. It's working.
It's working. It is. It's doing things. And that's also where I got the idea to start our winter guard program, because we don't have anything that's within like hours of where I live. So it's like, and basically one of the instructors that was there, Derek, was just like, why don't you just start one? And so, I don't know. Why don't I just start one? Yeah, here we go. We went to WGI last year. So it's a pretty cool. It's been a pretty cool journey from the MFA camp. So anybody who's thinking about it, can they register now? Is registration open?
They still can, yeah. Okay. It is June 1st when we are recording this, so late fees have started to apply. However, I have a discount code they could use.
Ooh.
That would take $150 off the cost of the camp. Now, keep in mind, it is a week-long camp, and when you pay for your camp, you get your food, your room and board, all of the instruction, nightly concerts, including a DCI show on Friday night. So it's super valuable. And if you're needing help paying for it, a lot of times instructors will reach out to their boosters or band directors and ask for help. Students can GoFundMe or whatever to help pay the fees. But do you want the discount code?
Yes, we definitely want to share this with our listeners for sure.
So it is 150 color guard. All one word, no spaces or underscores or anything. 150 color guard.
Love it.
Excellent. And is there a website they should visit?
Yes, they could go to camp.musicforall.org.
Camp.musicforall.org.
You got it. And if it's too late for them this year, if it's too close to camp time, definitely think about it for next year. It's always held the last week of June. And we have a Facebook group. If they search CGIA, Music for All, they should be able to find us there. And that group is very active all year round, but it's a great way to keep tabs on the summer.
Yeah,
summer opportunities.
I always get like little notifications from like somebody posting in the group, and I'm like, oh hey,
Yeah.
somebody from camp is posting in the group.
Well, I think what you're doing is awesome, and it's neat to. I mean, like we said at the beginning, Susie and I have known each other for a long time, and watching you develop and become this person, it has been really rewarding. I know that you're
Yeah.
making a big impact on a lot of students, and that's
Thank you,
really
Beth.
cool. You're welcome. It's really, I get to kind of watch her on social media, folks, and she's part of something much bigger than herself, and she's not hesitant about putting it all out there for all of her students. And that's something that if you get a chance to attend the camp, attend the symposium, and take advantage of learning from somebody like Susie, I would highly encourage you to do so. It's not every day that you get to be around people like that. And if you can find your way to the camp, I would encourage it.
Definitely do
because
it.
you're going to get a lot out of it.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
And Susie, you have a YouTube channel that's really awesome too, right?
I do. The YouTube is called the Harloff Hub. And I do have quite a few videos on there for free that are, I mean, they're not super well produced or anything, but there's basic exercises for hornline body and some cadet guard things because I'm the middle school director at Avon for their cadet guard. So I try to share information on YouTube when I can. So if you want to check it out, we'd love you to.
So that's the Harloff Hub, HARLOFF, 2 Fs. Hub,
2 Fs.
And that's on YouTube. So check that out too.
Yeah.
If you can get free information from Susie, that's even better, right? Okay,
We love it. We love it for free.
Absolutely. Subscribe. Click and subscribe.
Yes, please.
Well, that's so great. And like, seriously, you've been such an inspiration and done so many great things here. I really appreciate you coming on to talk to us again. I always love our conversations on here because seriously, we go into such great talks about marching band, and it's not just like color guard in one box over here and band in the other box. Like we cross so many different lines, especially that's what's expected now. So I just
Absolutely.
love that you are so open to all of it and do what you do and share it so readily with everybody. It's been fantastic.
You know what? My favorite things that reflecting on my journey in the marching arts, it is funny to me that I started as a wind player, discovered color guard in college, went through the whole color guard thing, taught color guard, and now I'm coming back around movement body to the winds kids. And God, I just love teaching the hornline kids. Like I've just kind of come full circle. So it's been fun.
Now I want to take your class. I gotta get this whole body moving. Bring my clarinet. I'll do it.
Let's get the whole On a Water Break staff. Let's get all of us to come.
Oh my God.
And have our own
I don't know, Susie. It would be a lot.
We would have some fun.
It would have to be the adult version. I'm just saying. I'm sure that the water break would be not. It would be figurative.
The beverage break.
It would be the beverage break.
Bring your own beverage.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Susie. We are almost out of time. And is there anything else that you want to put out there about summer camps before we kind of close everything up?
Yeah, and this is like for any summer camp anyone might be thinking about. Just do it. Find a way to go and do something. I feel like since the pandemic, we've all gotten so comfortable in our own homes, and learning things online is super fun and it's convenient. But getting face to face in front of people and learning physically in the space, I just think is so important. So get out there and go to camp.
Yeah, yes,
what
please do it.
Said. Go to camp, people. Go to camp. Do it.
Yes.
Invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
it was great to see you, Susie. Have a good one.
All right, bye guys.
Hi everyone, I'm Lexi Duda, and I'm the new host of On a Water Break in Rhinestones. I was a competitive twirler both nationally and internationally for nearly 20 years. Then in college, I became a feature twirler for the University of Maryland. Go Terps! Along my twirling journey, I competed in many world championships individually and with my Wheaton family, earning multiple gold, silver, and bronze medals. Now I coach the next generation of twirlers as they develop a love and passion for a sport I hold close to my heart. Outside of baton twirling, I have a full-time job. I'm a news producer in Baltimore. My goal for this podcast is to bring you unique stories from baton twirlers from all over. I'm here to help tell their experiences from performing at the National Football Championships to the Miss America stage. Be sure to follow along to hear from talented twirlers who definitely have stories to tell.
Well, that was a whirlwind of fun. I always love talking to Susie. She is such a great time. The other big news that's happening right now is drum corps move-ins, and we have someone here to talk about what is going on during this incredible time of year. His name is Manny Rabell. He is the color guard caption head at Genesis Drum and Bugle Corps, and he is joining us today from day 4 of their spring training. Hi, Manny.
Hello, how's it going?
It's great. How are you?
It is hot. We are down here in Caldwell High School near Austin, Texas, and we're working through it, but we're working hard.
So, what are move-ins like for Genesis this year in particular? Like, what are some of the differences from like when you marched and what's going on nowadays?
That's a great question. The facility that we're at is very large. We have multiple places for us to rehearse at, but the most interesting thing is their turf field no longer uses black pellets that we're used to. They use the blue coolant pellets. So we can have rehearsal in the morning and afternoon block. It doesn't really feel that bad. The organization itself is very welcoming. I've marched multiple places throughout the years, but from day one, from staff, admin, and with the members, everyone's just having such a positive experience. And my history of move-ins has always been very hard. I want to go home after day 4, but even today, the kids are wanting to work harder. They wanted to learn more things, and they're having a lot of fun.
That is so nice to hear that it's a positive experience because I know it could go either way sometimes for people.
Yeah.
So, what are some of those challenges? What are the things that make it hard?
So this is my second year teaching drum corps. As a caption head, the biggest challenges is knowing how to use proper time management. From the staff side is knowing when to utilize them properly, and then on the member side, knowing what they can handle and what they can't. An interesting thing we did is on our first day, we did what we called set the pace. We tried to learn as many sets as possible just to see what they can handle. And then after we get a good grasp on that, we make the decision, was that too much or can we keep going? With day 4, we've learned about 32 sets with choreography, with music. We're on a good roll. The kids are comfortable. And I think that's just the biggest thing is how to utilize time management so it never feels like we're wasting time.
Just assessing the kids that you have that are there as your members. That's so great. Yeah. So then what are some exciting things that have happened already this season, just in the last few days, or even just since like your last camps to now? What are some things you're excited about?
So we've been seeing these kids since November, and it started fairly small because we are new to the organization. It's me and my wife, Alicia Whipke. She is our co-caption head. And seeing the growth of these kids from November, December, January through the April camp and move-ins, we've been seeing exponential growth. With those core members and those core vets getting that excitement, rookies come in not knowing that things are hard, that it's difficult, and they just kind of jump in thinking that this is their norm in drum corps. I like to think that we're setting a precedent for Genesis that when members are coming in, they're getting that world-class experience that we had when we marched drum corps.
Yes, that's such a great experience for them too. Just that they can be able to come in and learn everything that you've got in your brain, that you've experienced, and like we were talking about before with the positive experience thing, you can take what you know and understand to be good for them and apply it to what you're teaching them forward. That's so awesome that you've seen such growth from them.
Absolutely.
So how are things going with the color guard this year?
It's very exciting. I don't want to dig into too much about what we're doing with the show, but we did decide when we took over, we wanted to start with a smaller guard. We're only fielding 32 this year because I've always had the mindset of quality over quantity. We want to make sure that we can take care of these members and we can give them that focus and attention to detail that they really desire. We are still looking for members to join. Knowing the placement of Genesis had previous years, we understand that most individuals want to go to other corps that are more consistent. But even with that, we want to push with the core members. We want to continue to give them that positive experience and work as hard as we can. It's been a lot of fun. I it's day 4. I am excited to go back into rehearsal just to teach them a new part of the impact, to get rifles a little bit more choreography. And it's a real joy seeing them get those connections like, aha, this is how I can do this. I can do it even better. And that just keeps spreading around from person to person.
So you are looking for more members. How do people, if people are interested in joining, how should they get a hold of you?
If they would like to get a hold of me, they can either reach me out on any social medias. My name is Manny Rabell, but they can also email us directly at guard@genesisdbc.org. Honestly, all they need to do is bring out a video audition, and I'm a firm believer that if this is something you want to do, we will make it work, and we're going to make you good. That is my goal this summer. All these kids I'm going to be teaching, they're going to be the best version of themselves that they can reach.
That is fantastic. Honestly, just from talking to you for the last few minutes, it sounds like you guys are running an upright organization and really, really focusing on your performers. And that's honestly, that warms my heart so much.
Thank you. We're trying really hard. It's a lot of hard work, but it's fun work.
Does anybody else have some great move-in stories from drum corps that they might like to share?
Well, we had a recent one last night. The great thing about drum corps is not only the performers, but the people you meet. My previous experience with other corps, this is my second time on staff. I love meeting the other staff and admin. For those of you that don't know how drum corps works, you do stay at different colleges, different high schools. We're staying at a high school and at a junior high. And in our sleeping area, we have a light that keeps flashing and keeps flashing and keeps flashing. It's hard for us to sleep. So it looks like a rave in our room, and we're just trying to do what we can, tape up the lights. And it was just a really good bonding experience for the staff to have something like that. And going through rehearsals, going through our transition times for lunch, dinner, breakfast, it's always a good time, and we're always laughing. I forget how much I missed drum corps when I marched. My last experience marching was back with Phantom 2010, and it really feels like I didn't leave drum corps.
Drum corps is really something else. I've only marched DCA, but I've taught DCI, and when you stop, you think your extra time is so nice, but then once in a while, you'll just remember how much you miss it. And as a staff, it just makes sense. The connection that you have with the members, how long you stay with them, how much you touch. And I love to be a tech. Like your Caption is good too, but being a tech, to be on the field with the kids, being as hot and pushing them further than they could ever know they could push themselves, within being in the realms of like taking care of them and making sure that they learn why it's hard to do what they do, but how good it is. And it's just drum corps is so good. Here we're with Les Centaures, which is like an open class, more of a, open class doesn't exist anymore, but I can only imagine what those camps are for you. And to make sure that your kids are mentally in a good state is so important. And I think maybe there's not a lot of people that are really, really in tune with how their members are doing, because we all know, if you march drum corps, you know that every member breaks down at least once at the camp. So if you take care of this on top of it, your season is going to be golden.
You hit a lot of really good points. In regards for DCA, that was actually my first teaching experience. I taught Sun Devils back at 2015 because I was working a full-time job and they only did camps during the weekends. So going through that experience after having an extended break from teaching really made me want to get back into that realm. Compared from when I marched to where we're at now, the biggest thing that's a big focus for members and staff is their physical and mental health. Not only that, but their emotional health as well. Like drum corps is not normal whatsoever. You're basically going through a glorified camp. This is a summer camp that people pay thousands of dollars, but you are working and performing and working even harder and trying to remind yourself to stay hydrated and trying to find those happy moments and those fun moments that you can't really explain to other people. You say, you're doing what this summer? You're paying thousands of dollars to work and be in the sun for 12 hours a day? Who does that? We do that because we really love what we do.
You know what, though, what you're saying about feeling like you never left, like I marched Blue Stars way back in the day, and then I came back and taught at Legends, and I only did that for a couple years. I did 2014 and 2015. They asked me to come back in 2016, but I was in the Olympics, so that was kind of hard kind of hard to make those two things mesh.
Mhm.
But but like getting back in there, when I jumped back in, it was like 8 years in between, and it literally feels like you never left. You're just like, oh, I'm just gonna hit the ground running, and I've got all my stuff, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm connecting with the kids. And even though it was only a couple of seasons, those students who I taught, like, here I am. It's almost been 10 years since I saw some of them, and I still have connections with them, and we still have like inside jokes and stuff. So just being able to, you make those bonds, especially during move-ins. You make those bonds with people, and like the people I marched with are some of the best friends of my life. So anybody who is out there who's even thinking that marching drum corps, being on a color guard this summer might be something for you, please, please, please reach out to Manny, email guard@genesisdbc.org, because this could be your chance. This could be your chance to make those lifelong friends and just have this experience. It really changes your life.
Yeah, and for people that are maybe scared of joining in the middle of camp, it's actually great to join at the middle of camp because you're that breath of fresh air.
Yep.
Everyone knows what they're doing around you, so you're going to learn things quicker actually. So I personally don't think you fell behind when you join in the middle of a season or of a camp. You just jump right in. You're that new shiny thing, and yeah, don't be scared. Just go for it. Yeah.
Chris Green, do you have any stories you want to share with us from move-ins?
Well, back in my day, since since I've been doing drum corps now for years, I will say the kids that come in that jump in the middle of summer, whether they were cut from camps, whether they couldn't afford it at the time, whether just life kept them away from it, it's a whole different experience for those students going in. And I think you push yourself a little harder. I think this is the time where everyone's starting to move in and reevaluate their life choices because it's hot, there's long days, there's all this stuff going on. But pushing through those will give you so much gumption for the rest of your life of how to push through anything and everything. So whether you've been there for every single camp and you're just continuing going, or you're jumping in for the first time, the experience is amazing. And I have a degree in music, but I got so much more musical education on a day-to-day basis
For sure.
from my drum corps experience, and just the wealth of knowledge from so many people that were either drum corps alumni or faculty at colleges or high schools. I learned so much, and it made me a better person and a better teacher for sure.
Absolutely. Oh man, it's such a great experience. I hope you get 32 more applications, Manny, after this podcast, because I think that would just be amazing for people to have this experience. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Time to get our history lesson for this episode. Each week, the Marching Pageantry Arts Museum folks are going to give us a little bit of history so we can know what came before us. Check out this week's story.
There was a constant undercurrent the entire weekend that something big's going to happen. Something's going to change. It got to Sunday morning, got ready to break up everything, and they're doing a wrap up and with everything else. Bobby Hoffman, who was in the back of the room, leaning against the windows, all of a sudden screams up, and again, I won't use the superlatives. What do you think, Ralph? Talking to Ralph Pace. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand these people. And then well, what do you mean, Bob? What is this? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we opening up this field? Why aren't we allowing the different? Why do we have to just keep being this old same way? And that opened the gates, and miraculously, I don't even think it should have happened then, because it wasn't in a session, but they changed the rules.
To learn more about the Marching Pageantry Arts Museum, go to marchingpageantryartsmuseum.org and follow us on social media.
Thanks, Bill. The history of drum corps and Stephen and the folks from the museum is coming soon.
That's right, Cynthia. And if you don't follow Drum Corps Today on Instagram yet, you definitely should. They are keeping us all up to date with everything that's going on in Drum Corps. So take it away, Jeremy.
Hey everyone, Drum Corps Today with another Drum Corps news segment. First up, we have rehearsal camps that are coming up. This weekend there are 8 weekend camps and 2 corps that are moving in for spring training. Out west, Gold is a camp in Eastvale, California, from Saturday, May 3rd to Sunday, May 4th. Vessel is a camp in San Dimas, California, from Saturday, June 3rd to Sunday, June 4th. and Pacific Crest is a camp in Diamond Bar, California, from Saturday, June 3rd to Sunday, June 4th. Down south, Impact is a camp in Orlando, Florida on June 3rd. In the Midwest, Northern Lights have a camp in Muskegon, Michigan on Saturday, June 3rd. Out east, 7th Regiment has a camp in Oakdale, Connecticut from Saturday, June 3rd to Sunday, June 4th. Stentors have a camp in Sherbrooke, Quebec, Canada from Saturday, June 3rd to Sunday, June 4th. Spartans have a camp in Nashua, New Hampshire from Friday, June 2nd to Saturday, June 3rd. A few more corps start spring training this week as well. Friday, June 2nd, the Academy starts their spring training at Betty H. Fairfax High School. Saturday, June 3rd, Music City starts their spring training. The Colts migrate over to Muscatine, Iowa for another week of spring training. Next weekend, there are 10 weekend camps, and 4 corps are moving into spring training. Out West, Gold is a camp in Eastvale, California from Saturday, June 10th to Sunday, June 11th, and Vessel is a camp in San Dimas, California, Saturday, June 10th to Sunday, June 11th. In the Midwest, Eclipse has a camp in Indianapolis, Indiana, Sunday, June 11th, and the Northern Lights have a camp in Muskegon, Minnesota on Saturday, June 10th. Down south, Southwind is a camp in Daphne, Alabama from Friday, June 9th to Sunday, June 11th. Heatwave is a camp in Lecanto, Florida from Friday, June 9th to Sunday, June 11th. And Impact has a camp in Orlando, Florida on Sunday, June 11th. Out east, 7th Regiment has a camp from Saturday, June 10th to Sunday, June 11th. Spartans have a camp in Warwick, Rhode Island from Friday, June 9th to Sunday, June 11th. And Jersey Surf has a camp in Delron, New Jersey from Friday, June 9th to Sunday, June 11th. A few more corps start spring training next week as well. On Monday, June 5th, Golden Empire starts their spring training at Bakersfield College, and Pacific Crest starts their spring training at Diamond Bar High School. On Thursday, June 8th, Blue Devils B starts their spring training at Mars in Concord, California. On Friday, June 9th, Colt Cadets start their spring training in Dubuque, Iowa, and on Sunday, June 11th, the Colts migrate back to Western Illinois University for the rest of their spring training. This past week, there have been 6 more corps to release their 2023 productions. Blue Stars will try to continue their rise with their production, in Absentia. The battalion will redefine the periodic table with their production, In Our Element. Arsenal will explore what draws humans together with their production, The Ties That Bind. River City Rhythm will be exploring different ways to fall with their production, Falling. Heatwave will spend the summer in October with their production, When October Goes. And Pacific Crest will be searching for the divine with their production, Goddess. Even though a handful of corps have moved in, there are still 374 brass spots, 81 field percussion spots, 80 front ensemble spots, 402 color guard spots, 6 conductor spots, and 70 additional spots ranging from team time to administrative intern positions, which in total comes out to just over 1,000 spots open for this summer. All this information can be found on our Instagram page, Drum Corps Today, and links to everything can be found in the link in our bio or at our Linktree Drum Corps Today. And stay tuned for more Drum Corps news.
Okay, guys, there's some news today. And Chris is going to start us off since, Chris, we always make the newbies, the rookies go first. So what news did you bring, especially since it's drum corps related? What news did you bring today?
It's drum corps related, and it's very exciting because for me, I did a couple years with Carolina Crown, then I taught Blue Stars, and then I helped start Carolina Gold. Frontier, helped Gulf Coast Sound, and a number of other DCA corps get to the field. And I've been kind of championed the last few years, just to anyone who will listen, that we have to save drum corps. It's getting more expensive. It's harder and harder. And one thing I like that DCA did years ago was to make it all age as opposed to senior corps, which made it a little easier for someone who was not maybe ready for the big world-class tour, didn't have someone in the backyard, maybe they couldn't go for the summer to do that. Well, it was leaked on the Reading Buccaneers social media a couple days ago, and then it hit DCA waves today and on the DCI.org site. So I'm just going to read a brief synopsis that was first broken by Reading Buccaneers, and that is the boards of Drum Corps Associates, DCA, and Drum Corps International, DCI, have been collaborating over the past several years about how the organizations could work together to grow the drum corps activity. This past winter, a proposal co-sponsored by DCI President and CEO Dan Atchison and the DCA President John Carr was presented to DCA Corps directors that outlined an integration of DCA into DCI as an all-age division. The proposal was discussed, reviewed, and approved by the DCA Corps directors for implementation in 2024.
Wow.
Now, what's cool about this is DCI has had an all-age division for several years.
Yeah.
They've opened it up so that corps could compete on their own sheets, small education to the the adjudicators there to make sure they were giving great feedback that would help with DCA. What they've decided to do is move the DCA World Championships to align with the DCI World Championships for 2024 and 2025. Now, the details of that we don't quite know yet. Is it going to be a separate competition? Is it going to be part of prelims? Is it going to be something that's changed with the open class world? But right now, DCI Open Class has 11 participants going to World Championships. Last year, DCA had 12 going to their World Championships. So I think everyone's trying to find a way to showcase all these wonderful organizations that are doing drum corps in a different kind of way. So I think teaming up together is going to allow much more exposure for all aspects, for people who've just been all age fans or DCA fans, or for DCI folks that realize, what, maybe I don't need to age out. Maybe I can keep marching for a couple more years and get more skills that can be applied to teaching and the programs you're working with. So I think this is really exciting. I think it's smart on both ways. The DCA world has kind of been focused on the East Coast for most of its history. We've had some great corps pop out of the Carolinas and Georgia, Florida,
And
the
Minnesota.
Midwest, California. Yes, yes. So this hopefully will help generational energy back there, and we'll see. They're jumping in for 2 full years. It gives us a chance to kind of see how that's going to work out. Um, I think it's a great thing. Actually, honestly, I would love to see DCI Open Class continue to expand and let the summer marching bands, let other groups participate, and continue with sound sport that we've been doing. It's been such a great aspect. Um, I could see a DCI World Championship where they say, "Oh, here's our Open Class champion, here's our international champion, here's our all age champion," and they're working in their own levels.
That's awesome.
And honestly, if you want to move on to semifinals, then maybe follow the rules of DCI with age and restrictions and stuff, which we already do with international class anyway. We allow that core, or sometimes that band, as we know, Calvary Show Band Stampede was one spot away from top 25 last year.
Oh yeah.
Give them a chance to see how they would fit into that world, but not bump a DCI member core off of the status. So that's where you have maybe a 26 or 27 cores at semifinals, so that international core too can make it in there. It just opens that door. Now, I don't know what they're doing with the DCA thing yet. They gave us very little information, but this was a huge bombshell today that anyone's a fan of open class cores or DCA all age should be excited about. And I think with DCA and DCI partnering the last several years, sponsoring each other, and you've seen a lot of presence both ways, I think this is exciting. And hopefully it just leads to more cores down the field, because more cores mean more participants and more people just loving the activity that we're all loving.
So is it clear or is it unclear that means that championship will be all at the same time for everyone?
It's in the same week. Now, whether that's tied into open class, like they do a separate location now, they've been at a college before, that Michigan City and a few other places have hosted in and around Indianapolis, a few hours away. So we'll see. Indiana's kind of central of the country, and it's become this performing arts mecca the last 15, 20 years. But PASIC and DCI, BOA, and even Dayton, Ohio is only a couple hours down the road for where kind of the heart of WGI has been. So I think it's a smart move, and we'll see. I'd be interested to see if they have their own separate championship. Is it a weekday? Or maybe they add a Wednesday, and that's an all-age day and open class day before prelim. Who knows? There's so many things up in the air, but at least we know that people aren't letting the activities slowly die away.
Right.
And I think there's a big fear. We lost several open class corps this year. We lost Santa Clara Vanguard for the year. Big name. We have Spirit of Atlanta and Seattle Cascades coming back, but we can all name dozens of corps that have disappeared and they're gone.
Yeah.
So to see some movement between the two major organizations that are run by membership corps, so they're core membership based and driven, to make some kind of concerted effort to save drum corps, that means a lot. I think we see the world class a lot in advertisements and the movie theaters, and that's what drives the activity. But without those smaller corps, without the other corps out there doing the activity, the big corps can't exist. So this is exciting.
Yeah. And I can't wait to see how creative they're going to be with the challenges that's going to obviously bring. But they're brains. They know what they're doing. DCI right now happens almost a month prior to DCA. That's going to be interesting too to see
Yeah, it'll
when
change
it's going to
the
land.
length of the season up. It's going to change so many things. But I
Yeah.
actually heard about this initially on Twitter, and I had no idea what was going on when I was reading about it on Twitter, and it seems like the vast like majority of people who I read talking about it were excited for the implications of
Yeah.
moving it, especially because like not just moving the date, but moving the location, because that location is so much more accessible for so many people who want to be involved. So I'm excited to see that. It's definitely a lot closer to me. So I'm definitely excited to see how that all pans
Selfish.
out. Maybe a little, maybe
Well,
a little. I just want to see the marching arts flourish in as many places as possible.
For the fans, it's
Fully.
going to be interesting too, because it's going to be one location, one time to go,
Right?
And that's cool. Like, and then, and yeah, in the groups, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be creative. You and I talked to, I don't know if we're allowed to say it, but to an important person, and that was one of the things that that person said, is that how creative people are going to be with how much money it costs and money that there isn't.
Right.
So, oh wow, that's a big
Well,
news,
see,
big
I mean,
news.
DCI's had all age and DCA shows
Yep.
over the years. It's even paired with championships before, where cores have come over, and it's been a great thing. The bigger side is on the logistical side, because DCA allows you to negotiate your own performing fares. So you work your season around where you want to make money. With DCI, it's different. You're paid a performance fee based on where you placed it in the previous year, whether you're open class, this and that. So that's going to be the interesting thing for me. But you mentioned about the season being different. That's a huge, huge difference.
Yeah.
DCA being weekend based, and they do a couple shows going out. But DCA has been doing this virtual show thing ever since the COVID year to try to make it easier to perform and reduce some of that cost. Well, that's kind of cool. That DCI core is kind of that same idea. If you're not, blessed to be in Southern California, where there's several cores that aren't going to championships, you can have a championship there. But you look at Colombians who've been out by themselves in Washington for a couple of years. When Battalion came up in Utah, there weren't cores around. They really have to travel a lot to get there. So that's going to be interesting. And I think the bigger question overall is how long of a season can we actually sustain in the long run? We've gotten very used to these 8, 9, 10-week seasons where cores are moving in the middle of May, and high school students can't do that. College students, some of them can't.
Yeah.
So I think if we start looking at how many weeks of competition we're actually going to have, maybe even locking down how many weeks of everydays or move-ins we're going to have, it's going to be interesting. I think if some big changes are made to kind of standardize where all the cores are, level the playing field a little bit, I think we'll see some big differences. And we may see, like we did with the year or two off with COVID and then the performing tour, cores came back very differently. Everyone got kind of see their action from 2021, how it affected their core, because everyone did different options and different ideas and concepts. Some worked miraculously well, and some shook up the cores because kids had aged out and this and that. So anytime that we can shake up the activity and get excitement, I think is a good thing. So to me, this is a win, and we'll see how it comes about. We've got a year to all to break it down as armchair core directors all over the internet, but it's exciting.
So speaking of shaking up the activity, Cynthia, you have your news story about the advisory boards this week.
Yes. So that's a really, really great time for, like Color Guard is over. We feel like, well, you're saying it's going all around year round. So during June 9th and 10th, it's going to be the I cannot say
advisory
that word.
board.
Thank you, Jackie. The Vegas. People know it as the
Vegas?
Vegas because it happens in Vegas. The Vegas. It happens in Vegas, and it's where directors of different corps, finalist corps of WGI and corps, guards and guards and drumline and horn lines, go with some of the big names, Dale Powers, and they're going to talk about different visions, about different angles for the next season, and vote the proposals. So the proposals technically they're already in. You cannot propose a change of rule, but you can, as an organization, propose a change or add a rule or a modification, and everyone is going to be submitted and everyone's going to talk about it, that they're there and vote. And so if you're interested, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are always interested about the rules change, because it does affect the next season. I think it's on Saturday night. There's going to be a Facebook Live where Del Powers and Mark Thorson will talk about the changes, and Wayne also from the Wins will talk about the changes and the proposals that are actually now rules that will be implied. And there's also the election of the new board of director and the steering committee members. That I don't know a lot about, but we know they're just really, really important positions that do have a great effect on a lot of things, on how the WGI functions and how members, everything that the political side of things, the behind the scenes. So yeah, it's going to happen June 9th and 10th. So watch that out.
And there's going to be you said that all the proposals are getting voted on there. There was a video that WGI actually recently published called The Journey of a WGI Proposal. So for anybody who doesn't really understand how proposals work, or they're interested in making a proposal at some point, or just wanting to learn more about it, it's a really nice simplified video. It's less than a minute and a half long. And it's called The Journey of a WGI Proposal. It's up on their website right now, and you guys can find it at WGI.org. All right, everybody. Thanks for a great rehearsal this week. Thank you to our hosts, Cynthia and Chris Green. Thank you to Manny for coming in and talking to us from Genesis. Remember, if you are thinking about joining up with Genesis this summer and you want to send in your video audition, send it to guard@genesisdbc.org. And then thank you again, Chris Green, for joining us. You can follow him at Green Uniforms FL, as in Florida, on all social media. And of course, as always, thank you, Bill from Marching Pageantry Arts Museum. You can find him at marching_pageantry_arts_museum. Joshua from the Drum Major Leadership Academy at DMLA Training, and Jeremy from at Drum Corps Today. Make sure you go subscribe to our podcast, write us a review. I am so ready to start reading some reviews on our podcast live. So send those to me. I want to read what you guys are thinking about us, and absolutely send us 5 stars, because I feel like all of us are worth all of the stars you could send. Share this with a friend. Follow us on our social media at On a Water Break, and we will see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.